G'day you mob, Pete here, and this is another episode of Aussie English, the number one place for anyone and everyone wanting to learn Australian English. So today I have a Goss episode for you where I sit down with my old man, my father, Ian Smissen, and we talk about the week's news, whether locally down under here in Australia or non-locally overseas in other parts of the world. Okay, and we sometimes also talk about whatever comes to mind, right? If we can think of something interesting to share with you guys related to us or Australia, we also talk about that in the Goss. So these episodes are specifically designed to try and give you content about many different topics where we're obviously speaking in English and there are multiple people having a natural and spontaneous conversation in English. So it is particularly good to improve your listening skills. In order to complement that though, I really recommend that you join the podcast membership or the academy membership at aussieenglish.com.au, where you will get access to the full transcripts of these episodes, the PDFs, the downloads, and you can also use the online PDF reader to read and listen at the same time. Okay, so if you really want to improve your listening skills fast, get the transcript, listen and read at the same time, keep practicing, and that is the quickest way to level up your English. Anyway, I've been rabbiting on a bit. I've been talking a bit. Let's just get into this episode, guys. Smack the bird, and let's get into it.
Yes.
You got a story or have I got a story?
No, well, the one you sent me that you were going to talk about was the one that I had pre-done, other than my Idiot of the Week, but we'll hold that
Was
one
this
off.
one that we've already done or one that
No,
we're yet to do?
it's one we're about to do, which was the Wilson's Promontory predator-proof fence, which
You can introduce it and talk about it then.
Yeah, it came up in my feed a while ago, and it was interesting for three reasons.
I think I know one of them.
Two of them are personal.
Yes.
One is that Wilson's Promontory National Park is my favourite place in Victoria.
Why
It's
is
not
do
Australia.
you want to introduce what Wilson's Prom is? Wilson's Promontory. What is a promontory? Why is it Wilson's Promontory?
Right. From a physical geography point of view, a promontory is a body of land that is connected to a larger body of land by a narrow bit of land called an isthmus, one of those unpronounceable English words.
You just skip the TH. Isthmus. Yeah, whatever.
No, it's got to be isthmus. It's like asthma, which is, and Ian, it gets mispronounced
Asthma.
because it's just too hard to say. So, yeah, it's one of my favourite places in Australia, if not my favourite. Mostly because I spent a lot of time during my young teenage years down there.
So did I.
Yeah.
With you.
Exactly.
Family holidays,
yeah,
camping.
family holidays, camping. And the athletics club that I used to belong to went down there every Easter. Easter is the second most popular time of the year down there. You got to book a year in advance to get even a camping site and so on.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's a reasonably pristine area. The entire promontory is national park.
Yeah.
And so it's a reasonably pristine area with one public camping site. You can bush camp in other areas with permits, but there's only one public camping spot, and it can take probably a couple of thousand people. It's quite a large.
This is Tidal River for anyone wanting to know. Yeah,
yeah, and it's a spectacularly beautiful place. It's got mountains up to, I think the tallest mountain is probably 800 metres high. Now, that doesn't sound very high if you come from Canada or
it's all relative,
Europe,
guys.
But 800 metres, where you've got even a 400, 500, 600 metre mountain that is literally cascading at a 45-degree angle down into the sea with wet sclerophyll forest, tall eucalypt forest on it. It's a spectacular place. And then these pure long sandy beaches with this beautiful surf, clear water. It's the most southerly part of the Australian mainland. Obviously, Tasmania is further south. But the mountains are granite. And so you've got these really large granite boulders, huge, 100 metres high granite boulders embedded in the mountain.
So they would have been the insides of volcanoes, right? Back in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Back in the day.
Millions of years ago.
Back in the
day, hundreds of millions of years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's forest, it's sea, it's rocks, it's mountains. It's the best bushwalking in Victoria, certainly. It rivals anything anywhere in the world. You can't go, well, there's you can do a loop of various places, but the longest sort of in and out walk is
This is the lighthouse,
to
right?
the lighthouse, which is the lighthouse isn't the southernmost point. It's on the next little point above it, but it's for a few hundred metres. It's as far south as you can get in Australia. And from Tidal River, it's a very long day walk if you're going to do it out and back. Most people go and overnight.
How far would it be?
Now you've got
Tens of kilometres, right?
It's back in the days when I used to go there, we spoke in miles. Now we speak in kilometres, and my brain has to convert. I think it is something in the order of 22 kilometres each way.
Yeah, I thought it was about
it's a
50
40
Ks, right?
something K return walk, and there's also a beautiful
You can
loop
jog
walk.
it.
Yeah, I've run there once.
There, You're
and
done.
and walked very slowly back in the same day.
Wow.
But we did that because as an athletics club, but we did it because we knew that we weren't going to be able to walk there and back in the one day.
Mm-hmm.
So we ran there. Ran, jogged, sat, chatted, ran a bit more, and so on. It wasn't a marathon that we were trying to do, but it was...
Jesus, because it's up and down too. You're like, it's only 22
It is
Ks,
a
you
bit,
could
but
do that.
but funnily enough, it's not like some of the others. There's a loop walk that goes around across from Tidal River, which is on the western side of the promontory, goes over to a place called Sealers Cove, which is obvious why it got that name. It used to be a place where sealers would sit. It's a beautiful little cove where sealing boats would come in, and they would sit there overnight and then go out picking seals off the rocks and little islands offshore and so on. And then there's a couple of other bays further south than that, and then you can come back over and go back to the west.
It takes about 4 days, though. I've done this.
You can do it in 2-3 days is better if you want to enjoy yourself on the way. You could do it in one day. It's probably only 25 or 30K.
Yeah.
But you're going up over the mountain range and back down, and then between every bay you're going up over a mountain range and back down. So it's very up and down. And back in the old days when I used to do it in the early 1970s, the tracks weren't maintained anywhere near like they are now. The Sealers Cove track, back in the day when I did it, the last 3 or 4 kilometres of that walk, it's about 11 kilometres, 7 miles in the old money. The last certainly 3 Ks of it is now boardwalk.
Yeah.
But it used to be walking through a swamp.
Yeah.
So if it had rained any time in the last month, it was going to be muddy.
You were done.
Yeah. And if it hadn't rained, like it was the end of summer, it was hot and mosquitoes and... It's the only place I've ever seen where about every 100 metres you go, there'd be snakes basking on the track because the track was the only bit they could get up out of the mud to get
sunlight.
To get sunlight. So, beautiful place. So that's one reason.
If you come to Victoria, go to Wilson's Prom.
Go. And it's out of the way. That's the other thing.
And it's weird. We talk about the Great Ocean Road so much, but Wilson's Prom craps on the Great Ocean Road, I think, in terms of camping and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And there's really great places on the Great Ocean Road, but they're all commercialised, and there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want. If you want to stay in a 4-star hotel next to a beautiful beach and a forest and waterfalls and everything behind you, go to Lorne on the Great Ocean Road or Apollo Bay. And but if you want to go, even if you're camping in Tidal River, which is a large campground with a shop and education centre and that sort of thing, it still feels like you're bush camping because you walk 100 metres out and you're on this pristine beach or you're out in the forest.
When you can't hear anyone, there's no cars.
No.
Because you've got to travel at like 20 Ks an hour to the campsite, and then as soon as you walk a few hundred metres away, you're over a mountain range and you can't hear anything, and so you're suddenly in isolation. It's
fantastic. So that's reason number one. Second reason is... that the person who was responsible for doing this is an old friend of mine who I went to university with, and Pete would have known through the museum. He was the head of... he would have been the head of the whole...
Geosciences. The science part.
The science department
museum.
of the museum.
So Mark Norman, hello.
Hey, Mark.
Watching.
How you going, Norm?
I saw his name as well and was going to bring that up.
Yeah, so
he was the head of sciences. And then he moved. He got a better job at Parks Victoria, which is where he's working currently.
So he's the head research scientist at Parks Victoria.
Yeah.
So the third reason is, because I love it so much, it is a really impressive thing to do, to build a fence across the isthmus, the Yanaki Isthmus, which is it's about a couple of kilometres across. I think 6 kilometres of fence they're going to have to build, maybe
so I guess
10
to
go around.
For those of you watching,
pieces,
Wilson's Prom is this kind of like Tasmania-shaped, like a triangle, right? A triangle with 2 points at the top, one at the bottom, and then there's a tiny little bit of land that connects the triangle to the mainland.
Yeah.
And it's flat. Yeah, it's flat land.
Flat.
So it's Wilson's Prom was almost Wilson's Island. Well, it probably was at some point in the past.
Yeah, exactly. At some stage, it would have been.
But yeah, it's only about 10 kilometres, I think, wide, the isthmus.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, that being the shortest part...
is where they're going to build a wildlife-proof fence.
Yeah.
So they want to... And there've been eradication programs for decades of, in particular, foxes and deer.
And cats.
And they're trying to get rid of them out of the national park.
But if you obviously have a connection to the mainland,
exactly.
it is a fight that never ends.
The advantage of having a very narrow and reasonably well populated, in a sense, that there's a little town there and there are lots of holiday houses and things around it. So that in itself means there's a problem because you got cats that can escape from there, but also foxes don't mind being in those things. And deer are not going to probably cross there. But deer were introduced into the park decades ago.
Well, the weird thing is you can't hunt them in the park, can you?
I
don't think you can go shooting
I honestly
in them.
don't know. I doubt whether you're allowed to go shooting in this national park.
Because you've got campers.
Yeah, exactly. You can shoot in the Alpine National Park, and there's a big deer hunting industry in the Alpine National Park, the biggest national park in the state of Victoria. But yeah, so they're building a fence, a wildlife-proof fence, and they're going to then increase the eradication program to get rid of deer, foxes, cats, and hopefully nobody gets back in. The interesting part of that for me...
Well, hopefully someone does, but it's not native... introduced species. Hopefully it's people that are still allowed back in.
People are still allowed in. There's a couple of interesting points with that. One is that you're building a fence across a piece of land. You are not completely surrounding this.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of examples of places where... Zealandia in Wellington in New Zealand, and this is I love New Zealand and I love New Zealanders. This is what we had talked about in a previous episode today of governments making decisions that are long term. Zealandia is a 500-year project.
Does it work yet?
It's working now.
Okay.
And this is a project where, this is a sidetrack here, but. And it's got a point. I'll get to the point. It's in a place where it was the major water storage dam storing water for the city of Wellington, the capital city of New Zealand. And so it's above, clearly, you want water collected above the city so it can run downhill.
Thanks, gravity.
Thanks, gravity. Yeah, we got that bit for free. And so they capture water there, but it happens to be on. New Zealand is one of the most geologically active countries in the world. This water is sitting on a major fault line.
Is this the one that was Christchurch's earthquake, or was that a different?
No, different. So eventually it was recognised that this is probably not the most sensible thing to do in the universe, is to have the major water resource for the third biggest, I think, city in New Zealand and the capital city of New Zealand to be sitting on a fault line because they have a big earthquake, the dam breaks.
Concrete doesn't do well with earthquakes.
All of a sudden, the city is without water. So they built another series of water storages, but they went, what are we going to do with this? We got this, effectively, you've got this pristine, semi-pristine, even though it has been open to, people have been there for a couple of hundred years. Well, Europeans have been there for a couple of hundred years. The Maori were there for a few hundred years before that. But they had this pristine area that was sort of fenced off to stop people going into there because it's a water capture. And they went, let's create a park, and because it's small enough, build a fence around it. So it's like Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
You go there and it's got a Jurassic Park fence around it because they said, well, let's stop predators from coming in and we'll eradicate predators.
And one of the interesting things is I'm sure they'll have things like deer and foxes and cats, but some of the predators that they may have too are Australian things. Like I imagine that brush-tailed possums.
Well, they've got possums.
Predators for plants, right? But introduced species that are also a problem.
So they're removing all introduced animal species from there, and they've been reasonably successful at doing that. But they've got this whacking great fence around it.
Yeah.
But it's surrounded. You cannot get in there. If you're a fox or if you're a possum or even if you're a rat,
just have visions of that kid on the fence getting electrocuted and then flying off in Jurassic Park.
Now, take that out to Wilson's Promontory. We can't surround Wilson's Promontory with a fence.
Well, you wouldn't bother.
Well, but
unless you were trying to stop whales and dolphins coming in.
99.9% of it is water.
Exactly.
That's fine. Where does the fence stop?
into the water.
Yeah,
Like
and
the Great
fence is-
Wall, right?
The fence is going out into the water. Thankfully, there was, and there've been examples, and I will not name the place in Victoria that had built a fox-proof fence
To the water's edge.
to the water's edge. Well, not even to the water's edge, to the beach, to the high tide mark. And you
I
don't
can
think
imagine-
foxes can walk around this at low
There
tide?
seems like some kind of Monty Python skit
Oh, it
there.
is.
Or
Yeah,
it-
it's bizarre.
maybe it reminds me of Men in Tights.
Yes.
You know, where he gets to the bridge and he's got to fight Little John,
Yeah,
and
and he-
Dave Chappelle's on the side there like, it's not that hard. I'm on one side of the
I'm on the other
river.
side,
I'm on
yeah.
the other side because it's a little creek,
It's a
that
creek
he can
that's
just
a-
jump
that is a
across.
step across.
It's like, we don't have to go over the bridge.
And then he
We can
eventually
just-
gets knocked off the bridge, lands in the water. He's like, I can't swim. I can't swim. I can't swim.
I'm drowning.
And Robin Hood gets off the thing and walks in there and picks him up. And he's standing in the creek and says, just stand up. You're fine. He's
like, oh, you saved my life.
Yeah. I'll be your follower forever. So that
thank
is a
you, Mel
complete
Brooks.
aside. But
Yeah,
yes, thank you, Mel Brooks, for that little aside. So yeah, really good that they're actually going to take that into account.
Yeah.
The best part of it, though, getting rid of those animals is one thing. The best part, though, is the reintroduction of animals that have not been in, some of them in Victoria in European time, but certainly not in the last 100 years. So we're reintroducing things like spotted quoll.
Yeah.
Potentially, I don't think they mentioned
Oh my
this
God,
article,
Tassie
but
Devil, please do it.
potentially.
That'd be
I
sick.
doubt whether they will because
They'll eat the dead wombats. It'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. So wombats don't cross roads very well.
They were saying, so they're dropping $6 million on this fence, and I think the project is a $23 million upgrade to facilities, including the new visitor centre, the tourism hub, new accommodation, walking tracks, car parks, existing accommodation. But they're doing it because they want to help protect the vulnerable species like ground. I didn't realise they had ground parrots there.
Yeah.
They have
up on the Yanaki Isthmus.
Yeah. Far out. Southern brown bandicoots, and they have long-nosed potoroos. And there's also quite a few rodent species that they never seem to
They never
mention.
Yeah.
Those
This
bastards.
Pete doing an advertisement now for his
I did
PhD.
my PhD on rats, and there are loads of nice, native, beautiful rat species that live, in these areas that are just as important. Damn it.
Bandicoots are cute, though.
They are. They're kind of like Australia's, what do you call it? There's some of them like pig nose bandicoot or whatever that look like pigs because they're hunting around for truffles and other things in
digging
the.
stuff out of the ground. Yeah.
But it was interesting hearing from Mark Norman because there were some quotes in here from him. So he was saying the development of this predator and deer-proof fence across the narrow entrance to the park allows us to really create a wildlife haven at a huge scale, and will stop the wave of feral pests and really protect special wildlife living there. The significance of the fence is huge. It's creating an island arc where all the native animals and their habitats are protected, and it means that all the work we do won't be constantly going backwards with, streams of pests coming in. But then he made that exact comparison, saying that it'll also make an amazing experience for people to connect with nature. It would be like entering a modern Jurassic Park or a native haven where the animals bounce back and get the support that they need inside there.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I thought it was really cool, and they'll be able to do things like protect, hopefully, some of these species that are threatened by things like bushfires and other predators elsewhere in Victoria. But yeah, it'd be so cool if they get the Tasmanian devil in there, well, just into anywhere on the mainland. They're doing it near Sydney, but
there's a little park outside Sydney, in New South
and we've
Wales.
mentioned it before that there were devils on. They weren't Tasmanian devils; they were just Australian devils.
Yes,
you would
by the time
imagine
Europeans
on the
got here,
mainland.
they were only in Tasmania,
But dingoes had pushed them off the
dingoes had
mainland.
pushed them off. Yeah.
So yeah, and the last little thing here that was interesting, worth mentioning, is that obviously they need to make sure that these conservation efforts are maintained. So they'll probably have to do things like photo traps, have cameras everywhere looking for invasive species and keep baiting them.
And that's the thing, is you don't get rid of them once.
No, it'll be a constant thing.
doing
'Cause there'll be idiots like there are with bringing foxes to Tasmania in recent decades. So how did they get there? Well, they came over somehow. So
and look, I don't know what their intention is in terms of the biosecurity for humans entering. It's a very popular park, so it would be difficult to manage. But I'll go back to the Zealandia example. And your mum, my wife, Joanne, and I visited Zealandia a few years ago. And it's one of those things where you effectively go through biosecurity to get in there.
Mm-hmm.
They search your bags. You walk through a antiseptic pad
to kill
for a
the
few
fungus
steps to kill
spores
fungus
and seeds on
spores
your
and seeds
shoes.
on there. So They take it very seriously. This is not just we did it once, we got rid of everything once, and we can do what we like now. So hopefully they do that sort of stuff, because one of the challenges with any national park where you're allowing people to simply drive through, and yes, you come to a boom gate and you pay your money, or you've already got a sticker that says you're here until this particular date, and they just open the boom gate and away you go, is that it's not going to stop idiots. And idiots, there'll be a very small proportion of people who will do things that are deliberately stupid, but plenty of people will bring dogs into a national park, their pet, and the dog escapes, pregnant female. Suddenly there's puppies running around, and that might sound like a silly example, but there's plenty of examples where those sort of things have happened. Not too many people take their pet cats on holidays, but some do. I know people who have a permanent cat in their caravan. Did
you see the story? I'll bring it up. I forgot to mention this. That in Queensland, there was someone where, what was the story? They found crocodiles get to a certain location near Cairns, outside of Cairns, but it's like 400 meters elevation up some, I think, up in the mountains or away,
so they're
up
going
this
up
river.
Waterfalls.
No, well, they don't think that they got there naturally. And
so people have dumped.
I think what's happened is that
crocodiles.
you had a crocodile farms. There are crocodile farms in Queensland, in particular, probably Darwin as well, around Darwin in the Northern Territory, and maybe even WA. I don't know, but they have them in order to skin them and use the meat and use the skin for products. So they farm crocodiles, thousands of them. And they also have parks where you can go and see them, and they'll feed them, and you get to see these big ass, 7 meter long things that are 500 kilos.
Yeah.
But I think what their hypothesis was that there were crocodile farms nearby, and that they either escaped or were dumped after they closed down.
Right.
And so now I think they did a survey and found, I wish I could find the article. They found, I think it was 400 crocodiles in this one area, and they're like, dear God, please come in and kill them all. Cull them, get rid of them before they propagate, because there's going to be thousands of them here, and we want to be able to safely swim at some of these places and everything.
Yeah. So these will be estuarine crocodiles, which are the ones that...
Saltwater crocodiles.
Yeah, saltwater crocodiles.
Yeah, that's it.
Which are the dangerous ones, and they are the ones that are used in crocodile farms because their skin is better quality and they grow faster.
Exactly, yeah. So
allegedly, their meat tastes better, but I've never tried freshwater crocodile. I've eaten crocodile, but I've never eaten freshwater crocodile.
No, these are saltwater. Right?
Yeah, I know. But that's the reason that the reason salties are actually farmed is
bigger.
Allegedly, their meat tastes better. I can't comment on that, but they grow faster and.
Did you see that photo that Kel's housemate sent during the cyclone in Townsville?
Yeah.
She opened the front door, and there was a crocodile.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it wasn't her housemate, but it was someone from Townsville. Yeah. I have a feeling it might have been, but there was someone in Townsville during that because the cyclone came through, the sea level raised and, went over the
crocs will go over the sand dunes.
And there were crocodiles just everywhere. And they opened the door, and under the street light is just this, 3 meter long crocodile on the ground, and you just shut the door again slowly.
Yes.
Staying inside. Yeah. I don't need milk.
Yes. Don't blink.
Anyway, yeah, cool. Contact. So you reckon that Wilson's Prom will become even better? Do you think it'll make a big difference for the experience of the individual?
I think it will. The immediate experience will be better because if they're spending money on... There is an old education centre there, which was entertaining enough 20-something years ago, but if they're building a bigger and better education centre at the entrance to the park rather than in Tidal River, I think that will encourage people to learn a bit more about the place before they come, which will be great. And it will probably also mean that they can employ more rangers. And rangers are really interesting people in Australian national parks because they sort of do everything. They're handymen, carpenters, engineers, into a job, right? And yes, if you want major works done, then you pull people in. But and they're environmental interpreters, traffic management. They do everything. Mm-hmm. They're incredible people. And if they employ more of them, that'll increase the user experience there as well. Let's go there soon.
But go check it out if you guys get the chance to come down to Victoria. go and see Wilson's Prom for sure. You know, go there and then do the Great Ocean Road. You can get the ferry across Port Phillip Bay afterwards. After you go through Phillip Island, see the penguins, get the ferry across. This is like my ultimate day, right? You'd start probably in Gippsland, then go through.
Ultimate day.
You just do the whole
very long
probably
day.
A week.
Yeah, the Great Ocean Road. For those of you, we should do an episode on the Great Ocean Road. But for those of you who are going to do the Great Ocean Road, you can do it as a bus trip in a day from Melbourne.
You won't see much.
It's a very long day, but if you're going to do it yourself, spend at least 2 days.
Yeah, stay in Wye River. Yeah. Anyway, thanks, guys.
See ya.
Alrighty, you mob, thank you so much for listening to or watching this episode of The Goss. If you would like to watch the video, if you're currently listening to it and not watching it, you can do so on the Aussie English TV channel on YouTube. This is different from the main channel. You'll be able to subscribe to that. Just search Aussie English TV on YouTube. And if you're watching this and not listening to it, you can check this episode out also on the Aussie English podcast, which you can find via my free Aussie English podcast application on both Android and iPhone. You can download that for free, or you can find it via any other good podcast app that you've got on your phone. Spotify, podcasts from iTunes, Stitcher, whatever it is. I'm your host, Pete. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a ripper of a day, and I will see you next time. Peace!